Hey, Pen Pals! So, I am attempting to watch all of the Oscar nominated films for Best Film. Let's hope I actually get through it. First up, Poor Things. Hi, Shannan E. Johnson, former television executive turned CEO of The Professional Pen, where we develop screenwriters from idea to pitch. Need help on your screenplay? Go to www.theprofessionalpen.com. All right, so Poor Things is now streaming on Hulu. It had many Oscar nominations, many Oscar wins, including Best Actress going to Emma Stone. So let's get into it. This is a very artsy fartsy film. Okay, it is weird. It's very, very odd. If that's not your thing, if you're not into surrealism, this film is not for you. Don't watch it. Also, there is a lot of nudity and a lot of sex. Okay, if that's not your thing, you might not want to watch. So this is a coming of age story about a woman who takes her own life and is reanimated by a Frankenstein-esque monster who replaces her brain with that of her unborn child. I told you it was weird. So here are some things we can learn from it. Because this world is so different, the world is so unique, and our main character, Bella, is supposed to be a child who is learning and maturing and matriculating through her vocabulary, etc. as we go. A lot of the dialogue is purposefully, intentionally on the nose. So we talk about on the nose dialogue often and about how you want nuance, you want subtext, you want subtleties, you want to show more than you tell, right? But in this particular film, they're able to utilize the setup to give reason for them to speak on the nose. And so within that, it also leaves a lot of room for comedy. So as much as this film is weird, it's also funny, okay? With that being said, if you can make it to when Mark Ruffalo enters stage left, you'll make it through the film. The first 15, 20 minutes are real weird, guys. And they do a lot of, artsy fartsy things with the camera. Also making you have kind of this like fisheye view a lot. Maybe it means fish out of water. I'm not a cinematic theorist in that way, but often I kept wondering why they would choose to use that camera angle. At first, I was trying to figure out, okay, it happens at particular times. They use it when they want you to feel a particular way, but I could never place it. So if you can place it, come back and let us know. Why do they choose to use that particular outlook or perspective at those moments? But if you can make it to Mark Ruffalo, you're in there, because then after that, you really start to understand what's going on. What's best about Emma Stone's acting, and I think probably why she was awarded Best Actress, is her ability to track the growth and maturity of her character throughout the story. Because again, she starts off as a baby, but like any other babies, she doesn't remain being a baby. She learns and she grows. And so at first she speaks very much like a child. It also kind of comes off as if she has a mental illness. I don't think that she does, but she is a reanimated person. So she's also real, but not real, if that makes sense. So when we first meet her, she doesn't speak very well at all. Her sentences are very short. She always speaks in the third person. She never stops doing that. But as she grows and matures, her sentences become more full. She's always asking questions, right? She's very curious, like any child would be. And by the time we get to the end of it, outside of her being a reanimated creature, she speaks decently fluent English that kind of makes sense. But above all, the on-the-nose dialogue is also mostly gibberish half the time. They're just kind of throwing big words around, which also gives it a little bit of the comedy. Okay, let's talk themes. The best part about this film were the themes for me. There are so many. I'm going to name a few, but you guys can probably find more. The Frankenstein monster is literally playing God. His name is Godwin, and she calls him God, right? So because he puts things together, he takes a chicken and a pig and puts them together. He takes a duck and a dog and puts it together. And obviously, he put a child's brain inside of this human being. He is playing God, right? So what are our thoughts on playing God? Then there is love versus control. All of the men in Bella's life claim to love her, but they're actually trying to control her. And as soon as she realizes that they are trying to control her, she leaves them. Right? Because like a child, she's curious about the world. Like a 2-year-old, she's out here trying to figure out things for herself. She needs to touch it. She needs to taste it. She needs to do it herself. And as they try to control her, because she doesn't know that she's not a real person, they know that it's dangerous out here for her. So some of that control is people don't need to know that I made you. Some of that control is you don't understand the world, so you don't need to be out in it, right? Some of it is about trying to protect her, but she doesn't see it that way. Then there is ignorance is bliss, right? Because she's this child, she doesn't know much about the world. Once she starts to find out about the world, it starts to dim her childlike light. And isn't that what we're always thinking as we're raising children? Like we want them to be able to be naive as long as they can because this world is so cruel, and we actually see her go through that. In that same sense, knowledge equals corruption, right? Because the more stuff that you learn, the more corrupt it makes you, right? The different decisions you decide to make with this knowledge that you have. Whereas if you can stay ignorant, if you can stay in this childlike place, then you also aren't corrupted. Then last but not least, I told you there's a lot of sex. There are undertones of sexual freedom. What I like about it is sex becomes this mechanical task, right? It becomes something that is not associated with love. And because she's so childlike and so pure, she doesn't understand all of the negative connotations, consequences that surround being sexually free. For her, it's just something you do that can give you pleasure, or something you do that you can get money in exchange for. There are no other moral, religious, societal norms or anything associated with sex for her. And so there's something freeing about that. You watch it and let me know. The last thing that I'll touch on that I think is brilliant is as Bella progresses, Godwin declines and Wedderborn regresses. So they're on top when she's on the bottom. And as she goes up, they go down. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Happy writing.
The professional pen. The professional